The sad decline of Tony Ferguson, who for many modern fans is the first time they got to see someone's entire career and then the decline of it. For people in the past, it was for Chuck Liddell, it was for Randy Couture, Anderson Silva. Many fans have the same feeling when they watch their favorite fighters, the legends of the past, decline and get finished horribly in their fights. History repeats itself now with Tony Ferguson. A legend in the game gets knocked out in one of the most horrific fashions that we've ever seen a fighter get knocked out in, where he was literally unconscious for like 2 minutes straight. That's something that none of us thought we would ever see. Maybe Ferguson would have gotten TKO'd, maybe he would have gotten hurt, but to see Tony's body limp, like almost lifeless, for a fighter who's so full of life in the octagon, always active, never gassing out, never withering away, the lights finally got turned off. And that's not normal, man. That's a lot of damage to the head, and after he woke up, you were able to see Tony's confusion. For sure never thought he would ever be knocked out in his career. As questionable as fundamentals have been in the past, his defensive qualities have always been kind of unique, and not by the textbook. He would get hit often in fights and even dropped. For example, he fought Anthony Pettis. But he never seemed like he was out of it in a fight. He never seemed like he was close to getting knocked out. From a guy who was taking many blows from Justin Gaethje, which for sure had to have done a number on his career, and unfortunately, sadly to say, his life. This front kick from Michael Chandler, the surprising factor of it, the fact that Tony did not see it coming, nobody saw it coming from Michael Chandler. If anybody thought that Michael Chandler would get a knockout, it would probably be from like his right hand or something, but Tony was so defensively sound in the fight, Chandler could not get his hands on him, so he got his foot on him instead. And that's a wrap for Tony, man. That might be it for his career. A legend that put everybody before himself. He put himself at all kind of risks for other people's enjoyment, for the brass, for other fighters, his opponents. He did so many things he did not need to do for his career. He did not need to take the Justin Gaethje fight. He did that for the fans. He did not need to negotiate for Dustin Poirier and stick with him. He could have sat on the shelf many times and waited out for Khabib, but he did not. In the time that Tony Ferguson started to realize everything, start to realize, okay, man, I should not be hurting myself for other people like this who do not have the same kind of energy for me, it was already too late. And in the fight he got knocked out in, he looked amazing. Tony looked so good in this fight. I mean, it looked like he rejuvenated himself. He was back in his old ways. Looked like the Tony Ferguson that wreaked havoc on the lightweight division and went on the legendary run that he had. He was good defensively. Chandler could even lay gloves on him. Offensively, he dropped Michael Chandler. He looked amazing in the fight, checking all the leg kicks, even on his back, blocking all the shots and going for triangles and stuff. It looked like vintage Tony Ferguson out there. Something we actually did not think would happen. We thought Tony would be completely washed up in the fight. He looked amazing, so technically speaking, he's not done. He's still able to compete with some guys here. Maybe not toward the top, but maybe toward the bottom of the top 10. But for what, man? I've been watching this sport for a very long time, right? I witnessed the Anderson Silvas, the Chuck Liddells, the Vitor Belforts, the Dan Hendersons, the Fedor Emelianenkos. I watched all these guys wither away in the sport, where they retired way too late. And I just hope that doesn't happen with Tony Ferguson. It's a really sad decline that you get to witness with your favorite fighters. If Tony were to have kept that up and not have gotten knocked out somehow and gone on to win in this fight with Michael Chandler, the narrative would have been completely different. But suffering a knockout of that magnitude at the age that Tony's at, if he's going to need to take a lot of time off, even if he does, his confidence is probably out the window now. And I don't think we're going to see the same Tony Ferguson again. I think that was the last glimpse of a good version of Tony Ferguson we're ever going to see. We don't want to see Tony Ferguson go to that, where he's fighting constantly, wants to keep competing at 38 years old, pushing 39 and then 40 as a lightweight, which is an anomaly. You don't see fighters that old in the lightweight division getting knocked out over and over again, because this knockoff with Chandler is not a one and done. That hurt his chin as well. The Justin Gaethje fight hurt his chin. This one most likely broke his chin. Tony Ferguson moving forward might not be able to take a punch anymore, because it's not just physically that his body's going to want to shut down when it takes a big blow, but Tony Ferguson might not be as confident moving forward, being offensive in his fights. I mean, in the Beneil Dariush fight, it showed that he was extremely gun shy, but I guess he was telling the truth that he didn't train properly for it, and he didn't have his coaches that he wanted there for it. He looked excellent against Michael Chandler up until the knockout, and with his confidence seemingly back, it must have left right after that fight. I would love to see Tony Ferguson call it a career. He's one of the greatest lightweights of all time. He's one of the biggest legends of the lightweight division. His name will always go down for many different reasons. Number one, his fighting style, the crazy fights he put on. His name will always be tied to Khabib. He'll be known for his legendary run in the lightweight division, having the most wins consecutively out of any lightweight ever. and will also know him for how he was treated in the sport. Tony Ferguson was done wrong for a long time. From fighters seemingly backstabbing him after he took one for the team, getting out of fight so he can reschedule his fight with Dustin Poirier for an example, to the whole incident where he injured himself at the studio, only for his belt to be taken away when he fought again 6 months later. He should have already been the undisputed champion at that point. The fact that it took so long for him to fight for the belt, nobody should have to go on over a 10-win streak in order to get a title shot. And on his return, he didn't even get a chance to fight for the title again, even though he got injured as the champion. Tony Ferguson was taken advantage of for so long, yet he did everything he could for other fighters, for the brass, for his managers. He put other people before him, only for himself to get burned at the end. He never needed to fight Justin Gaethje. He could have just waited out for Khabib. He did that for the people. He did that for the fans. He put himself at risk. He put his future at risk. Look where he is now. Imagine if he never took that Gaethje fight. He probably would have never been where he is right now. But he did it for the fans. And he just started to notice recently, and it's a shame. The time he starts to really notice it is the time he gets knocked out, and potentially that ends his career before he was able to make it right.